I've been working with SHARAN since the past 9 years, and I've seen thousands of people reverse diabetes and so many other health conditions. Okay. So just give this 1 hour. Like I gave my 1 hour of my life to SHARAN and my life changed. Okay. I personally had severe acidity. I lost about 17 kilos in 8 months, and so many other pluses and benefits. So give this 1 hour. Hope you have your notebooks and pens ready. Switch off your mobile and let's beat diabetes together, because it is possible and it is doable. So without much ado, let me get our founder today, Dr. Nandita Shah, who was a homeopath doctor. I'm saying was because after she discovered the magic of how diet can heal us, she stopped even prescribing homeopathy. She's the author of the bestseller Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days. She started SHARAN 17 years ago and is also the recipient of the Nari Shakti Puraskar, which is the highest award for women in our country, because under her care, thousands of people have been able to prevent or reverse. Okay, so let's together learn how we can heal diabetes easily and naturally. Over to you, doctor. Thank you.
Reena, thank you for that lovely introduction. And yes, it's true that so many people have reversed diabetes with their own efforts, even though, they may have learned it from us. I saw, that's our mission, a diabetes-free world or a disease-free world. And to a large extent, it's possible. I'm not saying that every single case of diabetes can be reversed, but most of them can be reversed. Today is World Diabetes Day. And it's even sad that there has to be a World Diabetes Day because the reason that it's World Diabetes Day is because there's so many people with diabetes in the world today, right? And India has one of the largest populations of diabetes in the world. Reena already told you a little bit about SHARAN. I founded SHARAN in 2005, and SHARAN stands for Sanctuary for Health and Reconnection to Animals and Nature. Why reconnection to animals and nature? What has animals got to do with all of this? I live in nature now, or at least closer to nature than I ever did before, because I lived in Bombay and now I live in Auroville, and I have nature around me, and I started observing animals in nature, and I realized that they know how to be well. How can it be that animals in nature know how to be well and we are sick all the time, right? So did you know that we are going to talk about that soon? Did you know that this year's theme of World Diabetes Day is access to diabetes education for all, right? And that's why we are doing this, to let you understand that diabetes can be reversed and what are the things that you need to do to reverse diabetes. I'm not saying that I can give you all the solutions in just 1 hour, but I do hope to dispel many myths and answer many questions so that you know how you can get to the next level and that you're inspired to make changes. Because remember, we can't solve a problem by continuing the same lifestyle that caused it. Change is difficult, but change is a must. So here are the questions that I've listed to get answered today. And after that, we'll maybe even have some time to answer your questions. Okay. So can diabetes really be reversed? Always. Should people with diabetes be allowed to eat rice, potatoes, and fruit? What sweeteners can I use? My blood sugar is well controlled, so I don't have diabetes. Is that true? Why is it important to reverse diabetes? What can happen if blood sugars remain high if we don't take care of diabetes? I was told that I should eat every 2 hours. I have diabetes for 30 years. Can it be reversed? Can I Can type 1 diabetes be reversed? When my blood sugars rise, my doctor changes my medicines. That happens very often, and I want to talk a bit about that. I have had diabetes for 20 years, and now my doctor told me that I need insulin. Is a continuous glucose monitor good? Is diabetes hereditary? Why did I get diabetes after COVID? Why is diabetes a COVID comorbidity? What is diabetes? Why is diabetes so rampant these days? And what is a good meal plan for someone with diabetes? I want to give you an outline of a meal plan in the end, so that at least you know how you can start off getting free of diabetes. And if you're here for your family or friends, how you can help them. Can diabetes really be reversed always? And the true answer is no. Not every case of diabetes can be reversed, but let's say most type 2 diabetes can be reversed, and most type 1 diabetes can be improved. So you can see a lot of testimonials on our SHARAN YouTube channel, where there's a whole playlist on diabetes and hypertension. And I'm not going to waste any time showing you these, because I'm sure you're here because you believe that diabetes can be reversed. Should people with diabetes eat carbs and fruit? Now, this is a very important question. Now, whenever we want to, let's go back to this one. When we go to the doctor says, stop eating rice, stop eating sugar, stop eating fruit, stop eating potatoes. And most people do it and they don't get better. Isn't that true? So why is it? And when we go to the doctor is dealing with symptoms. He wants to lower the blood sugar, and this can be done temporarily by not eating sugar, not eating fruit, not eating carbohydrates, because when you eat them, temporarily the blood sugar rises naturally, right? But if we really want to solve a problem, we should never handle only symptoms, because when people are handling symptoms with medication, nobody gets better. Over the years, they get worse and worse and worse and worse. Or if they're very lucky, they stay the same, right? So if we want to solve a problem, we have to understand what is the cause of the problem. And the cause of diabetes is not sugar, is not fruit. Imagine if we were on a farm or an orchard and we see fruits and vegetables, what would you feel like picking first? Fruits, of course. We're instinctively attracted to fruits, and nature will never make a mistake. That means nature is not guiding us to get diabetes. Nature is guiding us to the best food in the world for us. Just like every animal is instinctively attracted to the foods best for them. So we have to look at what is the cause of diabetes. And the result of diabetes is high blood sugar. The cause of diabetes is insulin resistance. And the main cause of insulin resistance is what we have to look at, right? So whenever we have fat inside the muscle cell, it blocks the insulin receptors. And insulin is like a key. It goes through the receptor and opens the lock in order to let glucose into the muscle cell where it's needed. Because if we don't have glucose in the muscle cell, we have no energy to move, right? And that's why diabetics, when they're not treated, or when they have high diabetes, they have symptoms of excess thirst, because the body is trying to wash off the sugar, excess urination after drinking all that water, and weakness because there's no sugar in the muscle cells where it should be, so that we have energy. So always remember, sugar gives us energy, or carbohydrates give us energy. And even the muscles need carbohydrates, And protein is not the food for energy. I know a lot of people think that proteins are good for muscles and proteins are needed for energy, and it's not true. Proteins are the food for growth and repair. But glucose, which is the breakdown of carbohydrates, is the food for energy. Now, where is that fat coming from inside the muscle cell? It could be the fat that's accumulated in our body, or it could be the fat coming from all the fatty foods that we're eating. That means oil, ghee, butter, as well as animal products. Have you noticed that animal products have a lot of fat? If you boil milk, you get fat on top. If you boil chicken, you get fat on top. If you boil fish, you get fat on top. No matter what, when we consume these animal products, they are full of fat. Now, does that mean we should not have any fat if we don't have oil, ghee, butter, and no animal products? No, plants have fat as well. In fact, we have oils from peanuts, sesame, coconut, and there's a difference. If you boil peanuts, you don't get fat on top. If you boil sesame, you don't get fat on top. If you boil coconut, if you take a piece of coconut and put it in water, you will not get fat on top. And that's because the fiber holds on to the fat. And it's the same in our body. When we consume fats with fiber, the fiber holds on to the fat, avoids it from going straight into the bloodstream and into the muscle cells. And so it prevents diseases like diabetes and even hypertension and other diseases. So the other most important causes of diabetes are lack of fiber. And lack of fiber can even come from plant foods if we eat refined foods, or of course, animal products. Animal foods never have fiber. Plants are the only source of fiber, but if you refine them, there's no fiber. Like there's no fiber in oil, there's no fiber in sugar, there's no fiber or very little fiber in white rice or white flour because the fiber is removed. There's no fiber in jaggery, there's no fiber in fruit juice, but there is fiber in fruit. And that's why we should keep as much fiber as we can. That means don't remove the skin of vegetables and fruits that don't need to be removed. The second is chemicals. Diabetes is a hormonal problem, and chemicals are hormone disruptors. Chemicals can be in food, like the processed foods or the packaged foods. Chemicals can also enter through our mouth through mouthwash or toothpaste and so on. And so it would be best to use the most natural substances. Remember, all the animals on the planet keep their teeth for their entire lives, except the ones that we feed with wrong food, or the ones, or us, we are eating wrong things. And the animals don't need to brush their teeth, but we do, right? And then personal care products. When we put oil on our skin, if our skin is dry, it gets absorbed immediately. So the same way, all these personal care products that we put on our skin, soaps and shampoos and cosmetics and hair dyes and perfumes and deodorants and whatever you have, gets absorbed and can cause havoc in our body, can cause hormonal problems. And as I said, diabetes is a hormonal problem. And then home care products. Home care products like phenyl, we can inhale all these chemicals as well. So the air fresheners, the window cleaners, the hand sanitizers, which are personal care products, the toilet cleaners, all those strong smells, the mosquito repellents, the pest control, these are things that can cause problems. And so we should minimize chemicals as much as we can. And then dairy. You know, I was just on a talk before this, and somebody asked, why does India have one of the largest population of diabetics? And one of the reasons is that we are a high dairy consuming nation. We don't eat so many animal products, although it's increasing year by year. But dairy, India has the largest population of cows in the world and is one of the largest dairy producers in the world. And yet we don't have enough. So we are adulterating milk in order to produce more milk so that we can consume it. So, of course, the adulterated milk has chemicals and we never know which ones it is. But milk contains fat, which causes diabetes. Milk contains no fiber. And milk contains a fourth substance, IGF, insulin-like growth factor, which takes the position of insulin on the receptors. So it's a bit like putting the wrong key in a keyhole. Have you noticed that when you put a wrong key in the keyhole, you can't turn it and you cannot open the lock either, and the key doesn't even come out? And that's what insulin-like growth factor does. It blocks the insulin receptors, and so it doesn't work anymore. And that's why insulin cannot enter the muscle cell. And then stress. How many of you have noticed that you got diabetes after an episode of severe stress? Anybody here? Right. And this is so common, you know, that we have severe stress. And even if you have diabetes and you have any stress, your blood sugars will go up. Even if your body suffers from stress, like an injury or dental surgery or anything like that, even fever, your blood sugars can rise, right? And then tea, coffee, colas raise both blood sugar and blood pressure. And I should add alcohol and smoking to the list as well. And then lack of vitamin D. You know, there are two vitamins that we are likely to suffer from deficiencies of: vitamin B12 and vitamin D. And lack of vitamin D actually causes diabetes. It also causes a whole lot of other problems. And therefore, it's very important that all of us get our vitamin B12 and D levels checked and supplement if necessary. And if you don't know how to supplement, you can just go to our website under Try Vegan, and there's a whole page on vitamin B12 and vitamin D. Should people with diabetes eat carbs and fruit then? And the answer is yes. We should eat as much fruit as we like, but whole fruit. Don't peel anything that you can't peel with your bare hands. That means no peeling apples, no peeling pears, no peeling kiwi or guavas or chicus, but definitely you can peel bananas and oranges and other citrus fruits. And what about carbs? Yes, we can get well by eating carbs, but they should be whole carbs. And truly, grains are not our food. Like if you see green fields of wheat and rice growing in the village, our mouth doesn't water because we can't eat it raw. Remember, all the animals on the planet eat their food raw. And so we should eat less grains. I always say no more than 1/4 of the meal should be grains. The rest should be salad, vegetables, beans, dals, etc. What sweeteners can I use? Only whole food sweeteners. That means dates and raisins, and even other dried fruits like dried figs or dried apricot. And when we eat those, it's very important to check what's in there, because sometimes you can get dried fruits like cranberries and apricots full of sulfur dioxide, or also full of oil and sugar. So make sure that it's really just a dried fruit with no additives. And we should avoid honey. Why should we avoid honey? Honey is a natural substance. And it's because if you saw a beehive, would your mouth water? No. Honey is not our food. But if we go to the supermarket and find it in a bottle, it's easy to buy and delicious to eat. And so we eat it, right? It's a commercial product now, but in nature, it was not meant for us and it has no fiber. And remember, we need lots of fiber in everything. Molasses, again, no fiber. And stevia. You know, stevia is very sweet and it raises our sugar, our sweet threshold. Like the more sweet you eat, the more you feel like eating sweet. And so those people who are diabetics and haven't eaten sugar for a long time and don't use sweeteners, you might know that now if you eat something with sugar in it, it is too sweet. It's not great, right? So stevia keeps us always craving sweets, and that's not a good thing. If we don't have these sweets, these artificial sweets, then we can taste the sweetness in carrots and peas and even onions and vegetables. And of course, fruits are sweet anyway. But when we, have sweeteners, then we feel like even sweetening fruits. Sometimes people add sugar to strawberries or other fruits, and that's not something great. Now, what about xylitol or artificial sweeteners? Never, 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 because they're chemicals, right? We never want to consume them. And agave syrup, that's natural too, but again, no fiber, and nor does maple syrup have fiber. And so we should avoid all of these things. And jaggery too, because the fiber is removed. So how much sugarcane can a diabetic eat? As much as they want, because nature is so wise that you can never overeat sugarcane, right? If you're eating sugarcane in nature, then you have to peel it like this with your teeth and then chew on it. And you're most likely not going to eat more than 6 inches. And that will never cause harm because you're eating it slowly with the fiber and spitting out the fiber, and that will not cause a spike. But if we have sugarcane juice, then the fiber is removed, 3 whole sugar canes in 1 glass of juice. That's a lot of sugar. And if we boil it down and make it into jaggery, it's even worse. And if we refine that into sugar, it's terrible. And that's why we should not have any of these man-made products. Rather, we should have nature-made or God-made products. Now, here's the next question. My blood sugar is normal, so I don't have diabetes. I met someone like this. He and his wife came to me, and the wife, and both of them were on similar medications, quite a lot of medications. The wife wanted to get free of medication, so she came, and he was accompanying her. And she said, what shall I do to get rid of my diabetes? And he said, my blood sugar is normal, so I don't have diabetes. But both were on the same medicines and quite a few, right? So what does this mean? If our blood sugar is normal and we are not on any medicine, then we don't have diabetes. But if our blood sugar is normal and we are on medicines, then we definitely have to consider that we have diabetes, because then we can have the complications of diabetes as well. So today's culture is, let's take pills and forget about the disease. And we are here to tell you that we are going to get rid of the disease for life with lifestyle changes. Now, this is a diagram that one of our team members gave me. Seema, thank you for this. And this is about how many people are in the business of keeping diabetics diabetic, right? Because there's no money in health, but there's a lot of money in diabetes. And so there are all kinds of new drugs and devices for diabetes every day. And we have to stay away from this web. So why is it important to reverse diabetes? Because number one, medications have side effects. And you remember I was telling you that not all diabetes can be reversed. And one of the reasons is because of medications that have been given that destroy the pancreas so that we can't reverse diabetes. So here's where I would like you, if you can quickly get your medications, just bring them near you so that you can see if any of these medications are one of the ones that you're taking. And if you don't have time now, you could just take a screenshot of the slides I'm about to show and look it up, or you could look up your medications later and look up the side effects of them. Just know everything about medications, because too often we go to the doctor and doctor gives us medications and we just take the medications without even looking them up, right? So the most common and the safest medicine for diabetes is metformin, which comes under the name, multiple names. Some of them are glycomet, glucophage, riomet, but there's so many. And what it does is reduce the the glucose production from the liver. The liver breaks down carbohydrates and produces glucose, and this medicine prevents the glucose production. What are the side effects? There can be gastrointestinal effects, lactic acidosis, and vitamin B12 deficiency most commonly. Therefore, everyone on metformin by any name should check their vitamin B12 levels. Anyway, everyone should. The second group of medications, which is very common, is sulfonylureas. And glimepiride is found under 507 brand names. But the most common that I see every day are Amaryl, Diapride, Gemma, Glimmer, Glimistar, or even some medications that are something, say, glucomet GP1 or GP2, right? And glipizide and glyburide, which are less common, but glipizide is quite commonly used. These sulfonylureas force the pancreas to produce more insulin, and so you get results right away. But in the long run, it leads to pancreatic burnout, and then no medicines work anymore, and then you're put on insulin. And many people are facing this today. And these cases are naturally more difficult to reverse. It can also cause cardiac death, weight gain, hip fractures, and also because it increases the secretion of insulin, it can cause hypoglycemia. And then there are the DPP4 inhibitors like linagliptin and allogliptin. Linagliptin comes under the brand name of Tradjenta, and sitagliptin is very common, Januvia. And this also increases the secretion of insulin, and the side effects can be pancreatitis. We are seeing this these days. Heart failure, fatal hepatic failure. Remember, the liver has to break down all these chemicals we're putting in our body. And of course, joint pains. And then there are the SGLT2 inhibitors. Remember, I told you there's so many different medicines for diabetes because it's a business. canagliflozin, dapagliflozin, which comes under the name of Farxiga, and empagliflozin, Jardiance. These are just some of the brand names. There can be others. So this causes glucose to be excreted in the urine. And that should be good, except that this can cause fungal and bacterial urinary infections, which are so difficult to get rid of. And remember, I told you that whenever the body faces any stress, blood sugars go up. This can also cause kidney injury and leg and foot amputations. Right now, just a few days ago, I went to visit someone in the hospital, and he went to the hospital because he had a corn on his foot and he has diabetes and hypertension. And he went to get the corn treated. And then he got an injury that didn't heal. And within 5 days of that, he was in hospital because the injury was spreading. And then one toe amputated, second toe amputated, third toe amputated. He's still in hospital. And today I was told that his other toes also have to be amputated. So that's the danger. And then thiazolid, well, I'm not going to pronounce this, but pioglitazone and rosiglitazone are the common medicines that are used. And these increase the secretion of insulin again. And they have side effects like heart failure, weight gain, fractures. Remember, the increased insulin causes fractures, bladder cancer, and hypoglycemia. So there are so many complications of diabetes. That's the second reason we want to avoid diabetes or reverse it if we can, because it can cause adult blindness, and we talked about ulcers and gangrene and amputations and kidney failure and cardiovascular problems and neuropathy. And diabetes can increase the risk of heart disease and stroke by 4 times. And impotency, a big complication that people often don't talk about but really suffer from. And gestational diabetes is dangerous for both the mother and the child. So babies who are born from diabetic mothers are too big, the birth is difficult, and they also have problems. And then Charcot's foot, where the foot isn't in the proper shape, the bones and the muscles have moved and things don't work as well as they should. And the third reason for reversing diabetes is the cost, the sheer cost of diabetes. The cost in terms of days unwell, the cost in terms of medications. And I've seen people who are on 17,000 medications worth 17,000 a month, even more. And the cost of healthcare, the hospitalization, and the the doctor's visits. And the fourth and most important reason is that diabetes is highly reversible, and it's easy to see the diabetes getting reversed because you can check your blood sugar at any time. The next question: what can happen if blood sugars remain high? And when blood sugars are high, they can cause injury to the artery walls. And arteries are necessary to supply blood to every part of the body. And so this can cause eye problems, in basically all the complications that I talked about, but predominantly eye problems, cardiovascular problems, neurological problems, and kidney problems. And that's why we really have to work on not allowing the blood sugar to go high. That means if you are not able to follow our guidelines, and if you cannot get rid of your diabetes, then you should be treated to keep your blood sugar low. Because if it's high, there are too many more complications than just the complications that come from treated diabetes. Should I eat every 2 hours? I always like to say that our body tells us how to heal. And we should eat only when hungry. And I've seen diabetics say, I've got to take my insulin and therefore I should eat. Not at all. The reason we're taking insulin is to help metabolize that food. And therefore, if we're not eating, we don't need insulin. That's why we should only eat when hungry. And of course, we should only eat whole plant-based foods so that you can never overeat. You will always feel satiated. And ideally, we should not eat more than 3 meals a day. If you're more hungry, maximum 5. And in diabetes, honestly, less is more, right? So you can delay taking your diabetic medicine. Say you don't feel hungry every day till 10 o'clock, then don't take breakfast until 10 and then take the medicine with the breakfast. And then every day you'll be taking the medicine at the same time. That's fine. I have diabetes for 30 years. Can it be reversed? And the true answer is it depends on what kind of treatment you have been given for these 30 years and what you're on now. Because if you've been given sulfonylureas, for example, then perhaps now you're on insulin or no medicines work on you, then perhaps it might be more difficult to reverse. But I never lose hope because I've seen lots of people reverse diabetes despite all of this, right? And truly, the worse you're eating now, the faster the results will come when you change your diet completely. Because the body says, heaves a sigh of relief when you stop consuming all those things. And the body says, okay, now I'm going to heal. And nutrients are the spare parts for healing. So if you give your body high quality nutrients, you will heal. Okay, can type 1 diabetes be reversed? Type 1 diabetes always gets better, and type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. And autoimmune diseases cannot reverse in a short period of time, right? So it's always going to take time to reverse type 1 diabetes. And nobody knows if every case of type 1 diabetes can be reversed, but a lot of them can. It depends on what is the cause of the type 1 diabetes as well, right? Sometimes it's medicine, sometimes it's a child who has had cow's milk instead of mother's milk at an early age. So there are different causes. Sometimes it's chemotherapy. So depending on the cause and what has happened to the pancreas, it may or may not be reversed. Type 1.5 diabetes is somewhere in between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And it may or may not be an autoimmune disease. And so type 1.5, I've seen many people get reversed. That means there are people who are on insulin, but once you make lifestyle changes, they can reverse. The next question. Whenever my blood sugars rise, my doctor changes my medicines. These days, you saw that there's so many different kinds of medicines with different names. And these days, medicines come 2 in 1, 3 in 1, several doses in one, because sometimes one medicine is a double dose. And patients are innocent. They don't understand. They just think that instead of this tablet, I'm taking that tablet. But if you are going to the doctor and the doctor is changing the medicines, most likely the medicine is a higher dose. And so it's never good when we have to change medicines, usually, right? Now, of course, if you're under SHARAN treatment and we're changing medicines, that's because we're reducing the medicines. I've had diabetes for 20 years, and now my doctor told me that I need insulin. And we've talked about this. And unfortunately, it's happening to so many people, right? And sometimes it can be prevented. We should start lifestyle changes immediately. And sometimes it can't. But even then, the insulin dose will come down, right? So it's really worth doing everything because even insulin has side effects. Is a continuous glucose monitor good? A CGM. Nowadays, people are so proud because they're wearing a CGM and they're checking their blood sugar all the time and they're seeing when they have spikes. And I think it just stresses people. I think that there's no need to know whether what your blood sugars are in between. It's only important to know your fasting blood sugar and your postprandial blood sugar and compare from day to day and do the right things. Let's spend our energy doing the right things rather than checking the blood sugar all the time and getting stressed, right? So whatever I've seen so far is that when people are on a CGM, they're stressed all the time. And then the blood sugar goes up a little and then they take insulin and then there's hypoglycemia and so on. I don't recommend this. And at least not with our treatment. Is diabetes hereditary? Actually, what is hereditary is our lifestyle, and it only gets worse from generation to generation. But sometimes diabetes does run in the family. And what that means is you can get better and so can your other family members. So whether it's hereditary or not, we all can get better. And I've seen that I'm treating a case of diabetes and the family members are all sitting there listening and they all do it and they all get better. But for example, I went to see this man who had amputation in the hospital and his wife and daughter and son, they were all sitting there and they all said, we all have diabetes and hypertension. And I said, that's a good reason for all of you to follow SHARAN lifestyle. And he knows what I do because I've done seminars there and had workshops and had the food there, but it didn't strike him that he should also change. Why is diabetes a COVID comorbidity? And as I said, COVID is a stress. Any fever is a stress. Any disease is a stress. And therefore, when we get COVID, diabetes goes up. And this is, diabetes makes the COVID worse and COVID makes the diabetes worse. So it's a vicious cycle. And so that kind of answers the second question as well. COVID and even COVID vaccination, both of them are a stress to the body and can lead to diabetes sometimes. Why is diabetes so rampant these days? Diabetes is so rampant these days because we have included all these causes in our day-to-day life, right? Fat, it's everywhere. We are eating fried foods, snacks, and we cook everything in fat. And then our consumption of animal products is going up. Lack of fiber. Refined foods are everywhere. Oil, white rice, white flour, peeled vegetables, sugar, etc. Even jaggery. Dairy. India loves dairy, right? And dairy means milk, cheese, buttercream, paneer, ice cream, curds, buttermilk. It even means the biscuits that have milk powder in them. All forms of dairy. Milk sweets as well. And you know, when we consume animal products, we are also consuming their stress hormones. And that causes stress. And of course, our daily lives are stressful. And so that causes diabetes. And that's why, and have you seen that our lives are more stressful than ever before these days? And that's because, and that's one of the reasons that diabetes is more rampant these days. And then tea, coffee, colas. I do believe that the amount of smoking has gone down over the years, but tea, coffee, colas, alcohol, very common. And lack of vitamin D. Vitamin D is produced by our skin, by the action of the sun on our skin. But most of us aren't out in the sun enough. And if we are in urban cities which are full of pollution, and you need direct sunlight directly on the skin, not through windows, not through clothes, not through sunscreen, and not through pollution. And we don't have enough of that. And therefore, vitamin D deficiency is very common. And it doesn't just cause diabetes, it causes osteoporosis and fractures, and it also causes sleep disturbances and even psychiatric problems. And so it's really important to check and supplement. So now the last question, which is really important for all of us. What is a good meal plan for someone with diabetes? Remember, we need high quality spare parts to heal any disease. And in nature, we are attracted to colors, all the colors of the rainbow. And so you should try to consume all the colors of the rainbow every day if possible, to get all the different phytonutrients. So here are some guidelines for how you could make your own meal plan. Remember one thing, everything should be plant-based, everything should be whole, and everything should be organic. And the meal plan, when you wake up, don't eat something right away. Have, instead of tea, you know, most people start the day with tea and coffee and biscuits. That causes diabetes. So instead, you know, biscuits are all refined. Maida, sugar, milk powder, and oil. So we need to stay away from those. So wake up and water with lime juice or herbal tea, and don't eat anything until you're really hungry. When you're first hungry, I highly recommend green smoothie. You can see the recipe on our website under drinks, under recipes, drinks, green smoothie and fruit. Okay. And if you don't eat fruit, that's fine, because green smoothie contains fruit. Make sure that you have you're satiated with green smoothie. So the chances are that, like me, you don't need anything else for breakfast. But if you're hungry between breakfast and lunch, you could have any of the common snacks we have, but made in SHARAN way. Look up the recipe on SHARAN website and make it with whole ingredients. And then lunch. Remember, grain should never be more than 1/4. So 1/4 of the meal, possibly a whole grain. And remember that millets are better than wheat or rice. And the rest would be salad. I would say at least 1/4 salad, no more than 1/4 grain, and then dal and vegetables. And a snack could be green smoothie and fruit again in the evening. That's the best snack you could ever have. And that too, only if you need a snack. Or it could be, sometimes we want something chatpata in the evening. Then we could have sprout chaat, chole chaat, aloo chaat, sweet potato chaat with onions, tomatoes, coriander, green chilies, date tamarind chutney, green chutney, chaat masala. And you can keep those chutneys ready in the freezer. You can even make them and put them in your ice cube tray so that you have little cubes to take out every day. And then dinner should be something similar to lunch, or it could just be a salad and soup, or a salad and a main dish, whatever you like. And if you don't have time to cook, it could even be a green smoothie and fruit. Green smoothie and fruit can replace any meal. So, in summary, health is the best insurance. Because if we don't treat diabetes now and don't reverse it, there are chances of complications. We can reverse most cases of type 2 diabetes. Disease reversal requires knowledge. And, even if you implement all the things that I've told you about today, we'll get a long way. And our future depends on what we do now. Now, there are ways to learn more right away. How can we help you? You can read my book, Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days, which gives all the details of how to reverse diabetes. And if you follow it cover to cover, and I've met people who got free of diabetes just by my book. And this is especially good for people who are not on medications yet, or who are on only one simple medication like metformin. Then you may not need the help of a doctor to reduce medications. Then Reversing Diabetes in 21 Days is an excellent book. And then, sorry, I just wanted to show you the book. And then there are other books that can also help you. There's SHARAN Healthy Living book, which tells you all the steps to take, and these cookbooks. And these are all available on our website for free download as well. And then we have a 21-day online diabetes reversal program. And here too, you're alone, because it's a pre-recorded program which gives you all the steps and actually gives you the steps in a step-by-step manner. Day 1, do this. Day 2, do this. So that you don't have that overwhelming change all at once. But you don't have anyone by your side to reduce medicines. So if you need that, our consultations are really great, because we help you and guide you and handhold you to get rid of diabetes. And nowadays, we even have a group program called Defeat Diabetes, which is done by a doctor from our team and a chef, so that you're taught to make the foods that you want to learn to make. And you're doing it in a group where the doctor sees your reports and guides you individually and guides you as a group on the things you have to do in order to get rid of diabetes, in order to reverse diabetes. This is done by Dr. Lakshmi and Chef Nilima. And right now there's a program on, but it comes again and again, so you can look out for it. So that's all from me today.
So thank you, doctor, for that very, very insightful talk. I'm sure everybody has got a lot of food for thought, and we definitely know that this works, and we have seen it all. So, and thank you all of you for joining in. Thank you, Vinita, for helping out at the back end. SHARAN is there to support you. We have the website doctor talked about. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So join us there. You can even join us on WhatsApp, where we send out regular information and details. We have an amazing YouTube channel, and of course, all these programs the doctor spoke to you about. So thank you for attending our session. And truly, from all of us at SHARAN, we wish you a wonderful and healthy life without any medicines, because our aim at SHARAN is building a culture of health. Thank you. And I hope that you all follow this and get rid of all your medicines. Thank you. Love you all. Bye-bye.